Today, I'm joined by Kavita, one of the world's top dating psychology coaches for men and the founder of Dashing Date. Just for people who don't know what a dating coach is actually, what transformation are you getting people to at the end?
There is a misconception about being a dating coach or working with a dating coach. What I do, and I'm not a matchmaker, but it is about this transformation of mindset, lifestyle. I'm very open to working with people who are like, I just really, really want a girlfriend. And I'm like, no problem. Like, if you trust me and trust the process, we're going to get you there. Once people enter my world, I think they very quickly start to feel a lot better, and those shifts start to happen organically.
What's the beliefs that are being shifted there that makes it so much easier?
That you have.
Today, I'm joined by Kavita, one of the world's top dating psychology coaches for men and the founder of Dashing Date. With over 13 years of experience, she helps men navigate modern dating with confidence and success. She's the resident dating expert on breakfast television and has been featured in the New York Times, Cosmopolitan, and the Global News. That's awesome. Kavita, you've been doing this for so long.
Been doing
So
this for
people
so long.
crazy. People know you. So I want to, before we dive in, ask actually one question that's for people, oftentimes, like you've been speaking about this for so long. What is one thing that you actually wish people knew that you don't often share that much?
Something I wish people knew. You know what? This is people often ask, like, how do you coach men? Or like, how did
Hmm.
you get into this space? And I'm in a relationship now for 12 years, and I think from the outside it can look really easy. Like, oh, well, it's easy for her to, like, spew out dating advice
Yeah.
and tell people, this is how to have an amazing relationship. But I think, like any, if we have a little bit more compassion for the people around us in the world, just like many, my story also starts in a difficult place. And I was in a relationship for 10 years, and my boyfriend passed away in a car accident. And it was after that that I started this company, and I was
Hmm.
able to find love again. I was able to find happiness again, find the love of my life. So that's why I do the work I do. And I haven't been sharing that story for many years.
Hmm.
It's more recent that I've started to talk about it.
Was it harder to talk about before?
Definitely.
Well, what
Yeah. A while.
I bet not the easiest thing to go through. From that experience, though, what prompted you to get into the dating coaching space?
Yeah, it wasn't that is the thing that
Hmm.
prompted me. It was more that it's a thing that kept me going for sure.
Hmm.
As I continue to lean into what's possible for others, I
Hmm.
started to find my purpose more and more. So the way it actually started is I used to host speed dating events as a side gig while I had a corporate job. And I just loved being in the space so much. I loved working with people. I loved helping people find love and match, but it was on a very surface level. And I was doing that before this happened with my boyfriend. So I was in this
Hmm.
space already. And then after he passed away, I kind of continued, and I continued to deepen my practice, um, and help people in a more profound way.
Do you feel like this is what people actually need compared to dating?
I think speed dating is great. I ran a speed dating company for 10 years. I think it's an amazing avenue, yeah, to meet people. And I think it's really great. Like, I truly felt really honored to be offering such an amazing experience when people are like, where do I go? What should I do? How do I even begin this journey if you've been, if you're single for
Yeah.
the first time? And so I love that. I'm a big speed dating fan. But to answer your question, yeah, I think I'm certain
Yeah.
that I can do a lot more for people by helping them on a foundational level. And I can easily guide them towards all the places where you can meet people, which is the easy part, but really helping
Yeah.
people their beliefs, around what's
Mm.
possible for them, is what I'm here to do.
Yeah. It's quite a different shift than just speed dating. I remember I
Yes.
had been on a couple of speed dating. It's quite a lot of fun, but yeah, not that easy to find what you're looking for always. So what are just for people who don't know what a dating coach is actually, what do people usually expect? Like what transformation are you getting people to at the end
Mhm.
compared to like just a speed date?
Yeah, I think there is a misconception about being a dating coach or working with a dating
Mm.
coach where it really means like, oh, well, if I sign up with a dating coach, I'm going to be like dating tomorrow. And
Mm.
like, am I ready for that? And I'm just like, you should only be so lucky if you're like literally, if I'm not, magic where I'm like going to present you with 10 women to go on dates with tomorrow. It's not what I do, and I'm not a matchmaker, but I do magic for sure in a different way. It's kind of like, I think something that could be relatable is someone who is really ready to take their nutrition seriously, take their
Hmm.
body seriously, take their health
Mhm.
seriously. And, you go and you sign up with a trainer, a nutritionist, or a dietitian, you're not fit tomorrow. But
Yeah.
it is about this transformation of mindset, lifestyle. How do you think about food? How do you think about your body? How do you think about muscle, right? So there is an educational process
Yeah.
to it. And I don't work with people who want, six pack abs in 6 weeks. It's not that kind of thing. It is the
Hmm.
person who really wants to change their mindset around love, dating,
Hmm.
relationships, women, because I work with men, and people who are really ready to prioritize this area of their lives and understand that relationships are really the foundation of everything.
Yeah.
Actually, the
Yeah.
catalyst for health and financial success when you have a loving and supportive partner. So that's where I come in.
100%. 100%. Sounds like probably some people are easier to help though. Like the people who have been through more about rock bottom and like they're like, yeah, now I need to change. But I know you told me that there were some people that's like it's harder for them to trust the process, or maybe like they're hopping from day to day. It's not that bad, but they really want something serious. Like what blocks people from, I guess, really taking their relationship seriously? You notice?
Yeah, well, the first thing I'll say is similar to someone who may want the six pack abs in 6 weeks, like
Hmm.
maybe on the surface level, that's their desire. But once you enter the space, right, maybe you do transform your lifestyle. Like you're opening yourself
Hmm.
up to a new world. And it's a gift, right, when you start to change things at a core level. So you don't always go out looking for it, but sometimes you receive that anyways. And I'm very open to working with people who are like, I just really, really want a girlfriend. And I'm like, no problem. Like, if you trust me and trust the process, we're going to get you there. But I won't always go into all the details about about how much work it can
Yeah.
take. Not
Yeah.
always, but how much work it can take. And once people enter my world, I think they very quickly start to feel a lot better. And those shifts
Hmm.
start to happen organically. And that's what
What's the beliefs?
attracts.
What's the beliefs that are being shifted there? That makes it so much easier.
That you have a lot more to give than you might realize. For example, I have a lot of workshops and programs that I've designed over these last 13 years. So one of them is cultivating your confidence from the inside, not going out and searching for your confidence, which people are like, I have low confidence. How am I going to meet someone? I don't feel good. I have anxiety. I'm overthinking everything. And we start this process. It's actually the first step in my process of like, hold on
Hmm.
a second. Let's go inwards first. Like, what do you bring to the table? What do you love about yourself? What are your personal quirks, your charms? Like, I really help people love themselves first, right? And it's going to be very hard to find real love and attract love if you're not starting with it. So it's really about embodying
Hmm.
the thing that you're looking for, knowing your self-worth. And I always say, like, it's going to be hard for someone to take a chance on you
Hmm.
when you're terrified to take a chance on yourself.
Hmm. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that quote. Can you say it again? It's hard for a
It's going to
person
be
to take a
really
chance on
hard,
you. Yeah.
yeah, for someone to take a chance on you if you're not willing to take one on yourself.
Yeah. And self-love is key. And yeah,
Mhm.
you need to come to Bali again. Your shit was
Yes,
so
I do.
amazing.
We need to come back. We need to come back.
No, yeah. Bali is all about healing and self-love and so important. It's so important.
Yeah. I spent a lot
Um,
of time at the yoga barn. I don't know if that's like just a very touristy thing, but we were there for a month and I stayed at the yoga. I loved the yoga barn. I stayed there. I just felt very at peace. So I understand
mm,
the appeal when people like arrive in Bali and they're just like,
yeah. Everybody's here for a similar thing.
yeah.
Yeah, very like-minded people. How was your relationships growing up? Like before that, your first 10-year relationship,
Ooh.
like was it
Ooh.
was it a smooth process?
That was not a smooth process. So this was someone that the very first day I met him, I was 13. He was, part of friends sort of thing. And I saw
Mm,
him and I'm like, oh my God, I have a huge crush on Luke. Like we hadn't even spoken barely, maybe like exchanged a few words. Of course, I'm, a 13-year-old girl. And we became really good friends. So from 13 to 16, We developed
Mm,
like a very close friendship with among like all our peers. And then we started dating at 16.
mm,
And, we went to prom together, like the whole nine, like high school sweethearts. But it was challenging from 16 to 26. There was a lot of ups and downs. I think he had, this is in like looking back, because I wasn't old
yeah,
enough at the time to recognize these things
of
in
course.
someone, but I think he had a lot of probably deeper issues, maybe from childhood growing up, trust issues.
Mm,
And so it was a challenging relationship for a long time. So beautiful when it was beautiful and really hard when it was
mm.
hard. And then again,
Well,
looking back, sorry, yeah.
what did you learn from that?
I learned that boundaries are key and your own standards are key. And, people will treat you the way you allow yourself to be treated. And that's it. That's exactly what it comes down to.
Yeah. How do you
Yes.
shift that? That's actually boundaries is one that I have tried to figure out. I feel like it's quite hard. I don't have a like personally very into personal development since I was 14 as well. But and boundaries is like people talk about boundaries a lot, but I don't have a specific process for like creating boundaries or like recognizing when do you have boundaries, unless you
Mhm.
like get really mad and you hit a wall like of frustration because the same thing keeps happening.
Mhm.
But is there a way of that you recognize these patterns of like needing to set boundaries
Yeah,
if you
definitely.
know one?
It comes down to how your relationships feel
Mm,
would be the first step. So if you are in relationships in your life, romantic or otherwise, and if you're constantly feeling anxiety around them, right? If you're constantly overthinking, if you're constantly feeling like you need to be passive aggressive or you need to people please, right? Like it's really in your body that this feeling comes from.
mm,
Don't try and be logical about it, because if we're trying to be logical, it could be like, oh, well, they just said this and maybe I should just reply this way. And
mm,
oh, maybe I should just um agree this time. And maybe, so it's not really about logically how we approach our relationships. It's really like, okay, maybe I should just agree this time, but it's really not feeling good. And you
mm,
know that you shouldn't be doing it this time. And you know that you've overextended yourself. Or so it's those kinds of things like that really happen on a body-based level where you can start to say like, okay, there's something that needs to shift here in terms of the way I'm approaching my relationships. Once you experience a healthy relationship that's where you're respected and you can communicate clearly, it's hard to go back. It's
mm.
such a significant shift that it's one of these things where it's like, oh, this is how relationships are supposed to be. And when you are around the right people, they will reciprocate. They will respect you more because of your ability to communicate your boundaries. I have some examples in my life today that, have been really challenging where um, two of my best friends, we went through a thing together. This was over a year ago now. And I had to show up in a very different way, with a lot of love, a lot of respect, and say, I'm not here for this level of communication,
Mm,
and I
mm,
think the way you present it is everything. It's not like a, hey, don't talk to me like that. It's really reaching a point where
mm,
you're willing to do the uncomfortable thing. So one of my favorite quotes, favorite, top, 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 nothing has been truer, is from Tim Ferriss. And he says, a person's success can be measured by the number of uncomfortable conversations they're willing to have. I can't think of one experience in my life where having the difficult conversation didn't leap me forward, like leaps and bounds forward, as hard as it was in the beginning. And even when the outcome didn't feel like what I wanted in the moment
yeah.
or what was
Mm,
right in the moment, it was always the correct thing. So, how do you do it? You have to start small, like anything else. Believe in yourself and be like, let me see what happens here. I think leading from a place of
mm,
curiosity instead of fear. Not, you don't have to be fully confident. I'm going to go and I'm going to share my boundaries. I'm going to communicate my standards. No, but you could be like, what might that look like right now? What would support my nervous system right now?
mm,
um, Trusting that the people who love you and are meant to be in your life are going to be on the receiving end of this conversation and communicate back, right? I think the other last thing I'll say on this, I mean, I can
Hmm.
talk about it till the sun comes up, but one other thing I'll say is when you are going in, don't do it from this place of righteousness where you're
Mm.
leading with your ego, like
Mm.
I need to get what I want. It is a dialogue to be like, hey,
Yeah, yeah.
this is what I need, and asking the person like, how have I been showing up? Like,
Hmm.
what do you think? Because there may be blind spots that you are unaware of. So it's a decision to level up your communication, change your
Mm.
relationships, change the way you experience yourself in relationships, and really starting at that point.
That's awesome. That was really powerful. No, as you were talking, I realized that I have done it quite a few times. It's just I really like how you broke it down. And actually, just to summarize, because I was basically typing out the steps. I don't know if you've done that, but you said like start with how you feel, like understand what's the feeling that keeps coming up in the relationships. Writing down also like trusting that your intuition. That's probably you need to talk about this and having the difficult conversation and even asking how have I been showing up so you can get an outside perspective. And yeah, then having the good conversation. It might not feel great, but trust that the
Mhm.
people who love you will reciprocate and communicate well. Does that sound about
Yeah,
accurate
it sounds accurate. And I would add to that, thank you for breaking that down into steps. I have a perfectly packaged framework for it. Um,
for you?
for me. So something I would add to that though is, when we talk about patterns and, your
Mm.
podcast about patterns, understanding that in order to get different results, right, we have to do something
Mm.
different. I remember using this example with my friends, like I really did show up. Like they were surprised by the way I approached this, right? It wasn't
Mm.
defensive, it wasn't my way or no way. And I remember when we went to have a conversation, the three of us, like I brought that quote from Tim Ferriss on a sheet of paper with his picture. So I
Oh,
kind of brought a little bit of humor. Like it was kind of funny because Tim Ferriss is on the top of the, black and white printed sheets. But I brought that
that's funny.
and a few other really powerful quotes that support this conversation that we were going to have. And, I handed out these like pamphlets at the beginning of the conversation. I've never done
Wow.
something like this
Yeah,
before,
yeah.
but it immediately everybody's guard was down because
Mm.
I wasn't coming into this from like a me against you. I really came into this from like a how do we solve this? And
Yeah.
let's use these quotes that I knew we would all resonate with. Let's use these as an anchor, right? Let's remember these pieces as we navigate this conversation. So
Mm.
that was, I'm like, let me try something here. Let me be
Yeah.
different. Let me break a pattern, not just sit across
Yeah,
at a
yeah.
table. Like, let me actually bring some elements into this. And did I know what I was doing? No. But I experimented. I led with curiosity, and those
Mm.
relationships are thriving now.
Oh, that's awesome. Is it really? And like you said, it's completely changed the relationship and for the better, it sounds like. But I am curious though, like
Absolutely.
what was the topic, if you don't mind sharing? Like it sounds like it was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it was a big deal. It was my these are my, like I said, two best friends,
Mm.
almost like family, and they were very much involved in my personal life, like helping my mom out with things. My mom has like
Mm.
health, just a difficult health situation. So there was just this I think misunderstanding of, how much they were kind of doing in the relationship outside of me asking, and then
Mm.
a lot of assumptions being made about me and, am I like helping enough? And of course, I was. And it's just when you lack communication, when you lack respect, like if you say you respect the people in your life and you are not willing to give them the respect of being upfront, confrontational is not the right word, but you hide behind confrontation.
Yeah.
That's not a form of respect.
And then you just
So,
keep assuming. Yeah.
making a lot of assumptions instead of actually coming to me and being like, this is what we're feeling, this is what's going on. So, I just felt, I was in the dark for a long time. But what it came down to for me, and one thing in my life I have
Mm.
no room for is like gossip, speaking behind
Mm.
someone's back, like have the courage to, again, coming down to respect. If you respect me, have the courage to have the conversation with me. And I think that's another thing you can say in your relationships, romantic or otherwise, is like, I'm here. Like, you don't have to wait for something to happen to communicate. This is again a standard of like, I'm
Mm,
here for difficult conversations. Please
mm,
come to me. Right. So you set that
yeah.
at the beginning so that
Mm,
you're avoiding something down the road. Like give the person the green light to come to you. And then if they don't, then it's on them. Then you're having a separate conversation. It's
yeah.
like, hey, we talked about this. What kept you from coming to speak to me about this? Like I've given
Yeah.
you the green light. Where's the block here?
So key. So key. I noticed when I started doing that in my relationship, it was also so powerful. I was like, oh, something's bubbling up. I want to talk about it as soon
Mhm.
as it comes up. One quote that I
Yes.
like about assumptions. Assumptions is, I think, I don't know who says it, but guy says assumptions make an ass out of you and me. Assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Don't assume. Just talk about it. Going back to dating though, do you feel like it's harder for men to have those types of conversations? Like, or is that because maybe that's just a stereotype. Men are more closed off typically. But have you noticed that?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that is fair. Fewer words,
Mm.
maybe less desire to go deep and detangle, but I think that that is changing today,
Mm.
especially as more men are, working with women, right? This is
Yeah,
quite unique, a female-led men's group that I run. Like that's
that's awesome.
unusual, and I'm so grateful for it. That was actually one of the key reasons I chose to work with men because
Hmm.
I worked with men and women for a long time. Up until 3 years ago, I was still working with women and coaching women.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And what I realized is that like I can't go deep enough into my practice by trying to cater to both men and women because the needs are
Hmm.
so different in relationships and dating. Like the needs are very different. The
Yeah.
struggles that men and women, single men and women are experiencing.
Hmm.
So in trying to cater to both was just keeping me more at a surface level than I wanted to be at. And then in making that decision, to be honest, Oscar, like I thought naturally I would work with women. Like in having to make that decision, it was a default. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh well, I have to work with women. I'm a woman.
Yeah.
And then I went and I did the like I looked at the data and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I hadn't done this. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have always had double the number of male clients than female.
Hmm.
And it hadn't
Wow.
even occurred to me. Like I was so like immersed in the space. I'm
That's
working with
crazy.
men and women. Yeah. And it's also funny because I was never trying to attract men. I was never trying to cater to men.
Hmm.
So I was, for the most part, being myself. And I have a very masculine energy, but I come across definitely as like a girly girl on the surface. But without really trying to cater to men or speak to men, they were naturally drawn to my content.
Hmm.
And I think that's because, not I think, that is because men want to know, like, what are women thinking? Tell me the girl side of things.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
used to buy Men's Health magazine, not Women's Health. I used to always, I was younger, 17, 18. I'd always buy Men's Health because I'm like, why are we being given different information? Like, what's
Yeah.
in this magazine?
Totally.
And
Totally.
so I think, so there was that. And then I was like, you know what? There are no shortage of opportunities for women,
Hmm.
coaches and love coaches and sensuality. Like it's never
Yeah.
ending
Yeah.
and community for women, but very few for men in
Hmm.
comparison. Again, now it's becoming a lot more ubiquitous, but especially the female-led
Yeah.
men's
Yeah.
group, female-led support groups for men. And I was like, I think there's really something
That's
powerful here that's
powerful.
missing.
I can't think of anybody else. I can think of a bunch of men who coach women, but not the space you're in. That's really powerful, actually.
Hmm.
All right. Is there any other reason that you focused on men?
Um,
Easier?
I don't want to work with myself.
No.
Yeah, I don't want me as a client. I'm with me
Hmm.
all day. I'm with my thoughts all day, and I have been exploring a lot this polarity, the masculine and feminine energies. I'm fascinated by it, and I think that there's just again, I'm drawn to this idea of being a woman, bringing my feminine energy, finding that balance and and working with men. I think there's a simplicity in it that's it goes so deep, but there is a simpleness to it that I love. And men, I like bringing the complexity to something so simple. When
Hmm.
I'm chatting with men and working with men and coaching men, like there's a lot of depth. And instead of, I find with women, it's almost the opposite. It starts really, really can be very complex, and we're trying to simplify it. And with men, it starts very simple, and we're adding depth to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I prefer this approach.
It sounds, yeah, more like a simple process then in the end. What part of
I,
your work do you, sorry, go for it.
I was just saying it's I don't know if I would say it's a simple process, but I do find it more enjoyable. And
Mm,
coaching for people who have never worked with a coach, there can be a lot of similarities or a feeling of similarity between therapy and coaching when you start
mm,
coaching, because yes, we are going to go deep. Like we do need to understand like where does this fear of rejection stem from? But the difference is therapy, you go there and you sit there for a long time.
yeah,
Right. Whereas coaching is, okay, we found this thing. How do we bring it forward? How do we connect this to your current goal? So it's a very forward moving process. So that was just one thing I wanted to touch
no,
on there.
for sure. Do most people who join you, is this their first time getting a coach?
I would say, yeah, 80% of the time.
Mm,
Yeah, that's why there's a lot of education. It's an educational process of like,
mm,
what is a coach? That's why I share these things, like the
of
difference
course,
between therapy and a coach. It's like, this sounds like therapy. What's the difference? And I'm like, okay, yeah, there is a big difference. Very goal oriented.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, massive difference. I got otherwise a couple shorter, less related questions, like especially about your work. Um, sounds like you enjoyed a lot. What kind of transformation that you've seen in your clients lights you up the most?
Oh, I think just when they really start to recognize their confidence, like how much
Mm,
coming back to that first practice, because it is that initial, once they start, like they start to believe, right? When you take this step forward into working with a dating coach, um, prioritizing your love life, like there's an instant shift that happens. That's like, I'm saying yes to love. And it's quite remarkable how just that shift without changing much, you will start to get more attention from women.
mm,
Like it's on your radar, right? Like it's there. So it exists around you. There is a lot more happening, but your
mm,
eyes have been closed for a long time. So I would say just initially, like right off the bat, I'm so excited for them because they're so pumped and they start to feel that confidence right off the bat. So that's
damn.
very exciting. In terms of a transformation, is really when if you're someone who hasn't been on a date in years, which I see all the time,
Mm,
and once you enter my world, and let's go really like surface level strategy for a sec, because we've talked a lot about depth and going
yeah.
inwards and body-based feelings, but on a purely strategic standpoint, if you follow my methods, you will meet someone. Like
Mm,
it won't be great if we don't do the inner work, but like it may
mm,
not work out if you're not fixing everything on the inside and healing those parts of you that are insecure and all the things. But to know that like, oh man, there is a strategy to there is a method to the madness.
yeah.
And that's like I was saying, that's the easy part for me. It's like, you want to go on a date, we'll get you on a date. That's not what this is about. That's an
Well, that's the easy
automatic.
part. Yeah,
That's the easy. Yeah.
that's
But
the easy
when they
part.
see that, it's like, oh my gosh, this girl is responding. I can get a match. I can go on a
Mm,
date. I can approach a woman. That is a significant shift because in some cases, my clients, they've never done it. They've
mm.
never been able to approach a woman.
You said you had a tool or something to give people if they wanted to reach out to you.
Yeah, actually, that's perfect. So I do have a little gift for your clients. So if anybody follows me on Instagram, it's at dashing date. And anyone who messages me your name, Oscar, I'm going to send them my ultimate guide to approaching women. I think that
Awesome.
sounds um, to me like one of the things that men struggle with the most is they want the organic love story, right? They see women are around, and it's so frustrating to have this like freeze response of like, I can't talk to her. It
Yeah.
can feel petrifying. And this is one of the things I teach. One of the biggest things I teach, and it's not as difficult as it sounds, but I do have a guide for it, and I'm going to send it for free to anyone who just messages me your name on Instagram.
Awesome. That's really cool. I kind of wish I could go through that. That sounds very fun. Because I used to be, and I'd say I'm still very shy around. Yeah, but it's just about the intention. Because I can meet random people super easily, but if I'm like, oh, want to go on a date? Then I would be like, eh. So I guess like
Yeah.
you said, it's just about doing a bit of inner work, but also yeah, trusting the process in the
Hmm.
end. Yeah. I think one last question before we start to wrap it up. I see. Because you said you wanted to go a little bit deeper. Like, what's a question you would love to be asked that maybe nobody has ever asked you about, either what you do
Oh
or your
my
personal life,
gosh.
if anything
Uh,
comes to mind.
yeah, well, I think what we covered is, just like previous relationships, understanding that,
Hmm.
again, we have this, it's very easy to make assumptions about
Yeah.
someone's story. But yeah, that I think that would be the main thing is I think people make some assumptions, but they don't go deep to be like, well, tell me about your, relationship history. And for my own self, in a process of being more open about that story. So we covered that. We covered that.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything else that I'm like, I just know that there's a lot to share. There's a lot of wisdom to share. And
Of course.
I think we covered a lot of really good ground, like the boundary talk and standards. I wasn't expecting to go
That's
there
awesome.
today. That was really
That's super
great.
powerful. Boundaries are
Yeah.
so powerful. Do you have any book recommendations, for example, on boundaries? Or,
On boundaries, I think what I would say, to be honest, and what was coming to mind before is a classic, which is the Four Agreements. And I
ooh,
think that could be a really strong starting point because, it is like, don't make assumptions. It is, don't take things
yeah.
personally. And I think that could be your foundation for how do I
Mm,
approach these types of conversations and
mm,
knowing that often the way you're being treated by others, it does start with you. It's something that you have allowed. So not to take it personally, right? Like it's just here. It doesn't mean you can't change it. Don't make assumptions about others. So I would recommend that as, again, kind of going back to let's not get caught up with the strategic side. You can use ChatGPT for mapping out the questions and going deep
yeah,
and how do
true.
I navigate this? That's there for you. But let's go deep and at a core level, kind of understand how should I feel about this?
That's awesome. I need to read that book, and it was such a good book. For
Yeah.
agreements, insane. Also, your content is awesome. Like I see you put so much creativity into it. I don't know if, yeah,
But
it's
it's been
it's
a
very
journey, this content game.
yeah. Well, you've been putting a lot of effort into it,
Yeah.
and the consistency is awesome.
Thank
Congrats.
you.
I don't have any other questions. Otherwise, I guess the most important thing: where can people find you? What's the best platform to reach you?
Yeah, definitely Instagram. So at
Dashing date.
Dashing Story, you'll always active story, new, dating content, advice every day. Definitely trying a lot more stuff. So interviewing, I don't know if you saw like recent like interviewing people, it's like downtown Austin for South by Southwest. I'm like,
Ooh,
let me give this a try. And interviewing, single men and women as I was like walking around downtown which has been really eye-opening, even for me, right? Like just firsthand, how do you feel about people approaching you? What are you doing to meet women? Asking men, do you approach? What's the vibe? What kind of
ooh,
response you get? And asking women, should men be approaching? Like, what are your thoughts on it? Because men are very fearful to approach because they think women don't want to be approached. They don't want to be perceived the wrong way. They don't want to bother someone. So I can say it again, like I can say it again and again and again, and I will. Yes, women want to be approached. I think we can all agree that women also want the organic love story of the guy that, came up and went for coffee and the rest is history. We all want that. But also just validating it through chatting with other
yeah,
people and seeing like, it's not just me. Here are single women saying the same thing. So I've been yeah, doing more interviews, sharing more of my story, my values,
that's so
beliefs,
cool.
and then, of course, tons and tons of dating advice.
That's awesome. I liked when you, yeah, I remember you said that on your stories, like women want to be approached. That's
Yes.
just keep saying that because people need to hear that.
People need to do that. Of course, there is a method to it.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
is a
yeah.
method, and your audience will get that from me in the DMs. But there is a way. Of course, there is a way to approach. There's a way to make
Yeah.
someone's day, right? There's a way to get a response that's going to make you feel
Mm.
good, regardless of whether the person is single or not. And that's what it's about, setting yourself up to win, regardless of the outcome.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm.
Yeah. Having techniques or like, yeah, some tricks up your sleeve just makes it a lot easier too. I
Yeah,
really like
yeah.
it.
Men, hopefully this is helpful. Men get too ahead of themselves of like approaching a woman means getting her number, having to ask for her. It's like that's actually the last step if everything else lines up. Approaching women is just the approach, right? Like, wow,
Yeah.
that's a really nice jacket. What it's just starting a conversation, gauging reaction. But now I'm getting into exactly what I'm going to share. So we'll save it. We'll save it
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for
Save
the
it for
slide that I'm going
people.
to share.
Wait, don't. Yeah, we need to wrap it up. But that's super powerful, and I bet that yeah, the relationships that you built out of helping so many people, that must be pretty magical too to see. How
Yeah,
many
thank you.
have you been inviting to? Okay, last question is how many weddings have you been invited to? Or have you? Do you get
Yeah,
invited to weddings?
I have. I have yet to go to one. That's also because I have
That's really
clients
funny.
all over the world.
Yeah.
I'm gonna save it for when someone's in Bali, because then I'll definitely go. But yeah, I have clients like worldwide. It hasn't actually like lined up yet. But there's also beyond weddings, there are baby showers now. So when you've been in the space
Wow.
for 13 years, yeah, there are little, Coach Kavita babies that are out and about and crawling around, if not walking by now.
Damn. That's
Mhm.
awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kavita, for your
Thank
time
you
and your
all.
energy. That was super powerful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
this was really nice.